Well, good morning to you wherever you are. It is Monday, the 13th day of the month of December. Welcome to The Point, and certainly we appreciate you being here. It's a wet day across the Tri-Island state, and we say thanks for being part of this broadcast. You wherever you are, and those of you that's chiming in or listening to us via Classic 105.5 and 105.9, or you probably join us on GBN's television, Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channel 20. If you are in cable, or you're probably via the YouTube channel or our Facebook page, or via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. Thanks for being part of this another episode. I'm Joseph Cadore. Well, with Christmas being merely just under 12 days away, we know it is a time when there's great expectation. Some say it's the most wonderful time of the year, but for many it could be a period fraught with stress and anxiety and a lot of different things. And the question is, how do we cope? And all of this coming on the back of what has been a difficult year emotionally, COVID and everything else. Certainly, some of us, we find it difficult to manage. But there is help. There is always help. And when I say there is help, there is help, professional help. And that's where our dear friend and clinical psychologist, Dr. Augustine Panchoo, comes in. Doc, good morning. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Good morning, Joseph, and good morning to all of our faithful listeners. I am doing absolutely fine. We had a lot of rain. We're still having some.
Yes.
I love when it rains. It can be a little inconveniencing for some people to move around, and it makes driving a little tricky and treacherous, it could be, but outside of that, I am doing absolutely great. It's probably the most look forward time in my life, and I think a lot of people can say that. I say it to people all the time, regardless of what people think about Christmas, the Christian views,
right.
Other religious views around Christmas, and other people's ideas of philosophical underpinnings that rule their life around Christmas. For me, it is just the best time of the year. I just love it. I love the festive season. I love the music. I love the food. I love everything. So I'm doing great, Joe. And I'm glad you're having me, both of us. We've done so many things together on this program. And I look forward to working with you in other spheres of duties.
Yes.
But this is our last time for 2021. So let's do a really good job this morning.
We are going to go out banging, and certainly it was interesting. We started this as this is the fourth or third in the series, and it's coming just on the heels of Christmas. I mean, Doc, as we've both agreed, Christmas is a really, really wonderful time, but it can be very stressful, and in terms of being able to cope with it. But tell me why though? Why is it that, in your estimation as a professional, Christmas, the season when it is supposed to be joyful, happy, you have friends and family around you, why does it seem to bring in anxiety and stress and all of those things we could do without in our lives?
Okay. So, Joe, just before I answer this question, I just want to, you made a remark in the introduction of today's program, and I just want to make a comment about it. It would be remiss of me if I did not make a comment. We have had some very stressful times since February, March of 2020. Last Christmas, we were in the middle of COVID, and the celebration, the celebratory activities, the atmosphere and the environment was really not conducive to what we Grenadians have come to understand, to appreciate, and to behave about Christmas. Right. And so this year, there is no curfew. The country seemed to be opening up a little bit, not a little bit, a whole lot compared to last year. So I think this year is even more reason. Let's backtrack a little. We lost 200 people.
Yes.
That's a sobering thought, okay? And we're not going to dwell too much on it, although it's really significant as we celebrate. But so amidst the celebration, we have to think of those families also, Joe, 200 families who are still grieving, because now it's Christmas time for family and friends, and these beloved people are no longer with us. Okay, we lost some young people and we lost some elderly, so
Yes.
it's significant as we celebrate to not forget where we have come from and where it is now that we are heading. So why is Christmas time a time of fun, a time of celebration, a time of family, a time of eating, drinking, getting together, can become so stressful and anxiety-ridden? Okay, I'm going to go slow, Joe, because I want to introduce a terminology. I've been looking at this, and I've been studying this for a long time. And I came up with a word that I want to use for Christmas time. And it is called dope. D-O-P-E.
Dope.
Now, let me, right, yeah.
Okay.
So let me give you a little background, just a reminder of the context. Now, when we refer to dope, we're referring to an illegal drug
Okay.
or a combination of drugs that when it is consumed, it can lead to addiction,
Okay.
and it can control one's life or people's lives. So when you think of dope, you are thinking of it in that context. It's probably not necessarily good for you, good for the body, good for your mind. It's not good for relationships. But when it attacks, when it is indulged, it leads to addiction and a lot of heartaches. So why am I using that similar terminology to Christmas and the anxiety that results from the festive season? Well, DOPE is an acronym, Joe, that means depression over people's expectation.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Over
Depression over people's expectations. That's what DOPE is. So, here is what happens around the festive season of the year. People get anxious and even depressed over the expectations of people. And there are several categories of expectations.
Okay.
Here are some of the expectations, and we're going to elaborate on them as we go. One, expectations from family. Every family expects somebody to give them a gift.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who, when, how. Every family member. I mean, even people, watch this, Joe. Even people on the street you meet, just mere acquaintance. What you giving me for Christmas?
So it is, in fact, a reasonable expectation, you say?
Absolutely.
Right.
Everybody, So what you giving me for Christmas? Do you know that if there is a significant person in your life, and I'm not talking about significant partner like spouse, fiance, brother, sister, niece. If there is a significant person in your life for whom or to whom you did not give a gift around Christmas time, there is a kind of bad blood. There is a kind of, it's like, okay, it can fracture relationships. So there are many expectations around Christmas. So you have family.
Right.
You have co-workers, Joe. Trust me, there are co-workers who are expecting Joe to give them something. It doesn't matter what Joe can afford or what he can give or not give.
Right.
They are expecting something from you. If it's a bottle of rum, a bottle of water, whatever it is, somebody expects something on the Christmas tree or on a table or somebody's office as a co-worker. If you are an employer, you are expected to give all of your employees a gift. It doesn't matter how hard COVID brought the economy and your business to a stall. People, we're not thinking that. Employees are not thinking. Employees are starting to ask, I wonder what he gonna give me for Christmas.
Right.
You understand? So there are so many, and watch this now. The giver of gifts. So whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's 110,000 people, because also people are expecting to get, but they're also thinking that they must give. So in addition to the categories of people who are expected to get, there is this category of givers, those who are going to give. And we are saying now, what am I going to give? Here are some of the questions we're asking ourselves. What am I going to give? Who am I going to give? My funds are limited, my resources are limited. So how do I choose who to give, what to give, how much to give, and who it is that I really could afford to have a fractured relationship because I really can't give you nothing? No, that's stressful.
That is stress.
That is stressful. Now, we're only talking about dope, huh?
Right.
Depression over people's expectations, right? That's one aspect of it. Let me introduce, because I want to introduce a few things, and then we can break down and we can ask questions and we can figure it out.
Right.
So in addition to all of the gifts and gift giving, Joe, there is a financial consequence to Christmas. A very deep financial consequence. There are many people, and maybe not even just in Grenada, but in the diaspora, who are going to max their credit card because they must, and watch the word must,
Right.
send a barrel, they must send a Nike, they must send a iPhone, they must send a tablet, they must send a computer. They must pay for somebody's Christmas vacation to Brooklyn over Christmas.
Because it is Christmas and there is a reasonable expectation.
It's a reasonable expectation. So you see, Joe, what I'm saying here is that, as in dope, that people take the drug and then they become addicted, and they may not even choose to become addicted.
Right.
For Christmas and the festive season, we're making a choice to do it. But it is as though there are external forces mandating us. So the little savings that we have, we dip into it to make sure that mom gets a ham
Right.
from Key Foods or from Costco, okay? Or BJ's. Well, if you're in Brooklyn, then you go to BJ's.
Right.
Or Bobby's, right? So we make sure, if you're in Toronto, you're in London, wherever you are, you want your family back home to paint their house, to varnish their house, to put up new curtains, to send Christmas lights, to go collect the barrel, to Western Union and MoneyGram lines are going to be extraordinarily lengthy,
Right.
starting this week up until Christmas and the couple of days after Christmas, because some people are not going to get it for Christmas, huh? And they're going to collect it in that week after Christmas. So what I'm saying, in addition to gifts, the expectations of people, there is also the deep financial consequence that when January comes, people sometimes scramble to have enough to pay the bills and to become current on their obligations, because there is an underlying expectation for Christmas that we have to give and give and give, and that we have to get and get and get.
And each one, Doc, it comes with its own challenges. There is the expectation that you're going to give, and you're going to probably go all out of your way to give, because mommy's expecting, daddy's expecting. How can I not give my sister, my loved ones, a gift?
Yeah.
That's one thing, and we talk about the financial expectations. And then there's the emotional drag with what you get. And if you don't get, then you then have additional forces now having to counterbalance how you try to keep a good face to these loved ones that gave you nothing for the holidays. And they say that,
Joe, let me tell you
they were
this.
broke.
And that's another dimension that you have introduced. Okay, that Joe, because he's working, he's popular, he's well known, he has a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintance, will give 50 people gifts.
Ooh.
But Joe will not get 50 gifts.
Right.
You will absolutely not get 50 gifts. You may be lucky if you get one from your wife. Well,
right.
Probably your wife, okay?
Right.
But she might think, well, the cake and the ham and the sorrel is enough,
suffice.
and the hard work that I'm putting into the house is enough of a gift, and I'm making it with love. So that's the gift, right? And that's okay. I'm not saying, because gifts, Joe, gifts do not have to be the expensive gadgets that we think we obligated to go to the store and get. We could give a lot of love. We could give trinkets. We could give things from the garden that we produce ourselves as gifts, and those are absolutely welcome as part of the giving and the sharing. And I feel, watch this, Joe. When I was a small boy, and that's a long time ago, you and I, right? Around the Christmas holiday,
Yes.
there was a lot of sharing among the community and neighbors.
Correct.
We had a communal approach to Christmas. So if you had green peas, you shared with the neighbor. He had plantains, blugger, dashing, whatever.
Right.
And there was a lot of sharing. And it was very common for somebody in the community to kill an animal and really not even sell the meat, kind of give each person a coupon,
Right.
distribute it. That's how I grew up, I grew up with that kind of mentality, and that was really good giving. These days, people really, they appreciate the plantains and the dashing, but so much so people are looking for other forms of gifts, especially technological gifts. All right? So, Joe, I want to introduce something now. Bear with me. You're going to see where I'm going with this. When we think of Christmas, what comes to your mind? Let me start with just both of us having a conversation as two old people.
There's the food to eat, the drinks, the merrymaking, friends, families, good times, just enjoying it, having fun.
Right. Okay, so that's part of it. What prompts Christmas? Tell me. Look at the word again.
Christ, the focus should be on the Christ child.
Okay, Joe, that's where I want us to go this morning.
Right.
You're going to enjoy this piece where I'm going. You listen to the parang, especially, Crazy and Scrunter and Bring the Christ in Christmas.
Yes.
Because for the world who celebrate Christmas as this holiday, we think we're celebrating the birthday or the coming of a savior, the Christ child.
Right.
Now, history has taught us, and I'm not arguing this because I don't know that much history, that Jesus wasn't born in December. He was born later on in the year. That's not the discussion. I don't want anybody to ask me a question about that.
And neither am I. I'm not going there.
Don't take a question like that this morning, Joe. But here it is. We know as Christians that the Savior came. He was born, right? We believe that, we accept it by faith, and we read historical context for that conversation. He came to save the world, and it is his birthday. Think about it. But Joe, watch this. When you go to a birthday party, yeah? When you bring a gift, who are you bringing it to?
The person who celebrated.
Right, you are not bringing it to the guests.
Right.
You are bringing it to the celebrant, the person who has the birthday, the person who has the anniversary, the person who just graduated. There is a person. But here it is how we have thwarted Christmas. Instead of bringing gifts to Jesus, we want gifts to people, the people who the guests. Think think about how tragic that phenomenon has become.
Right.
Because we are really, we're not gifting to ourselves, because Christmas is not about us. Christmas is us getting an invitation to the party of Jesus' birth. So if we have to give gifts in the real true sense, we need to give a gift to Jesus or to the person that we claim whose birthday it is.
And I'm assuming that all of this, it adds to the frustration because, one, we've missed the true purpose and the reason of the celebration to start with.
Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely. And here is the crux of the matter. I introduced the financial obligation and the financial consequences that cause people a lot of anxiety. Okay? This part is really, really significant because we are celebrating somebody's birthday, but we're giving gifts to people who do not have birthdays on December 25th. So you can see how anxiety-ridden that could be. And that leads us now to what I refer to as the commercialization of Christmas. And unless people, Joe, unless we see what the world has done to the Christmas season,
right,
we will miss the bigger picture. Because what the world has done is to capitalize on people's love for Jesus, or their aspiration to adore Jesus, or to worship him, and to now turn this into a bonanza, into an opportunity to spend and to demand,
right, and
to give. Yeah, that's what we have done, Joe. And that's why there is so much anxiety and guilt of failure. Because watch me, Joe, there is something. Think of when you were growing up. When your parents may have asked you, and I don't know, my parents used to ask me, so what you want for Christmas?
Yeah.
Right? When I was a little boy, Joe, I would go to Grenville maybe once or twice for the year, once or twice, seriously.
Right.
I don't know if I have to buy a shoe, and most of the time, if you have to buy a shoe for school, your parents go in Grenville, they take a thread or a twine,
and they measure
the length of your foot, and they go to the store, and then they come back with something. If it's big, thing. If it's small, they go back and take a size bigger.
Right.
But for Christmas, they'll take you, and they'll ask you, what do you want? And they tell you, as a little boy, you had one option, maybe one gift. That's all they could afford, right? So 5 kids my mom had. When she takes 5 of us, everybody gets a little. So my sister gets a doll, and the 4 boys, we get maybe a little gun. Remember the gun with the little shots?
The little packs.
Right, packs gun. Well, that I used to get, right? And that would last, Christmas Day, and then the day after Christmas, that thing mash up, because one little spring just bring.
And that's it.
But watch this. What I'm saying here is that the commercialization of where Christmas has now gone and taken us is cause for concern, because we are training a generation to see only the commercialization, the buying, the selling, and the giving, and the eating, and the drinking, and the drunkenness of the season, when it is bigger and more inclusive, and has a tremendous meaning for us as a people.
Right.
And I don't want us to miss that the bigger picture of what Christmas means. Because as long as we stay with the commercialization of the Christmas activity, we are in the land of dope. Depression over people's expectations.
Depression over people's expectation, that's what it has become for this season. 28 minutes gone past the hour. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Dr. Augustine Panchoo, we will try to determine how do we assist individuals, assist ourselves to deal with the dope, the Christmas dope as it is, which is in fact the depression over people's expectations for the holiday seasons. We take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back, right here.
Following the COVID-19 vaccination, some people may experience side effects such as soreness at the injection site, chills, nausea, body aches, or a fever. But these symptoms go away after a few days. These side effects are a result of your immune system responding to the vaccine and are not a sign that you are sick with COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccines will not give you COVID. When you receive your vaccine, the health worker will advise you what to take if you are experiencing any of these side effects. Remember, these mild side effects cannot compare to you not being able to share memorable moments with your family and friends if you fall gravely ill from COVID. Vaccines bring us closer. Choose to get vaccinated.
We've already highlighted the fact that most of us, we get high for the Christmas. Yeah, we literally become high. We get high on dope, which is the depression over people's expectations. How do we then? So we have determined that Christmas has become commercialized, and even by those who probably would say, yes, we are Christians and we focus on the Christ in it. There's still a measure of commercialization to it anyway, because even the churches, they will have parties, they're going to have this, they're going to have that, they'll decorate. So we understand that. But beneath all of that, people are hurting. They hurt. And I think we started the conversation by highlighting the fact that for Christmas, it can be even worse, given the fact that because it's a time of family, it's a time of giving, a time of love. When we got together, some families we reflect, and then we recognize that, listen, a cousin is not there, an auntie is not there, a brother is not there.
Yeah.
How do we? What's one of the ways? How do we cope with that during the season?
Yeah. And that's a really, really great question for us to think psychologically. As we said, COVID took away 200 people from our Grenadian family. And so we have a lot of people who are still grieving, a lot of people who are going to have mixed feelings as they prepare the ham, as they prepare the turkey, the little stewed peas with dumplings, and the sorrel and the ginger beer as they prepare that. But amidst the celebration, people will pause and to probably pay homage for the loved one that they lost, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sibling, and or a child. Okay, and we have to remember that. We have to remember the scourge of COVID-19, what it has done to our families, how it has fractured a lot of relationships, and how it has led people to unwarranted mourning because of loss of life. So at the dinner table for Christmas, there is going to be, whether it's a hidden agenda and or an open conversation, there is going to be mention of the loss that we have suffered. Okay, even now some people can't come for various reasons, whether they failure to vaccinate or maybe they are positive and so they can't. There are travel restrictions. So all of these come into play, and people are celebrating. Thank God we're open up, but people are celebrating with those little dark clouds still hanging over the kinds of celebrations that we do. So what do we do? How do we work with families who are still mourning and grieving over the loss of a loved one, especially around this time? Is to give people hope. Joe, one of the things that we do, you do, I do, both of us do it together as we have these programs, is to allow people to see the silver lining, to give people hope about the future, hope about, and also as we celebrate Christmas, to think really of the Savior, okay? You know, so people who die, they die in hope. We celebrate Christmas as a recognition that a Savior was born. And if we give our lives to Him, then even though we die before Christmas or after Christmas, there is hope for spending eternity with Him in the new heaven and in the new earth that we Christians have come to accept as part of the theology of the Christian life. Okay?
Right.
And some people don't believe that, and that's okay too, to not believe that. But as Christians, that's what we believe. So in this celebration, we pray for people to allow them to grieve, but also to give them hope that there is a good chance that they will see their loved ones again. If you kind of give your life to the Savior, the reason for Christmas, you know, that's a really great teaching and a really great segue to allow people to internalize how to deal with anxiety and stress and grieving over the festive season.
And I'm assuming, Doc, central to that would be acknowledging the feeling.
Yes. Absolutely. That kind of acknowledgement comes with a lot of strong faith and belief. Okay? You know, not everyone gets that joke. Not everyone gets the reason for the season. You know, and so we celebrate, and a lot of people, artists, I call them, sorry for saying people, artists have penned. We want the celebration, and I want the celebration joke. I want the parang, I want the Christmas songs, I want them. But what these artists have done is in the penning of their songs, they highlight the reason for the celebration. And that we must continue. There was a time when we were growing up, Joe, that people from church groups and community groups would pass around and sing carols, I think they were called, right? Carols?
Yeah. Caroling, yeah, they went caroling.
Right. And the songs that were chosen were always lifting and pointing to a Savior. Okay?
Right.
I remember that clearly. So while you are putting up curtains and you are vanishing for the last couple of days of Christmas, people would pass around and serenade, even on the day of Christmas, because there is a real meaning, a deep meaning And I think that's the meaning. We cannot lose, and we do not want to lose the meaning of Christmas.
Do you think that Christmas, as part of dealing with the anxiety, because it probably should be used as a time of healing spiritually, healing physically, where we learn to forgive, we learn to deal. We look back at the year that was and position ourselves to, maybe it's a time that I can become a better person.
Joe, that's my closing. So let's deal with it now, and then I will have to come up with a different closing.
We'll close.
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
Well, let me ask you. So we'll leave that for the closing there. But what about planning? Planning
Say that again.
Planning ahead. How would that help in terms of dealing with the demands of the season? We are 12 days away.
Very good. So remind me to come back to that closing.
Yes.
I want you to remind me, because I could forget when I have so many things going on. Joe, there is no question that because of the expectations of everyone, not just the giving, and the receiving, everyone has expectations. Planning ahead is crucial. See, what we don't normally do is, a lot of us, and we have limited resources, we wait until November, December to start. Some people, they are in susu, so they take their last hand just for Christmas so that they know, right? Well, this year, I think Grenadians are very fortunate. A large percentage of our employees, government employees, frontline workers, police, nurses, some teachers, etc., are going to get an additional bonus. It therefore means that people are going to have a little disposable income to spend on Christmas, right? I'm hoping that they'll save some of that too, if they can. But why is planning for Christmas, which is probably the most lucrative season of all the holidays in terms of spending, right? Carnival and Christmas probably go hand in hand in terms of spending and income generated for the country. Planning ahead is really crucial. So people should try as best as they can to start saving from January, and thinking, I'm putting this away in an account or in my account, and I'm not touching it because that is for December month.
Hold that thought.
That is really crucial.
Hold that thought there for me, Doc. I have a caller online. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Greetings.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead, please.
And should I say Merry Christmas in the vein of the discussion and of the season?
Thank you. Many happy returns to you, sir.
So thanks for the discussion, and as usual with the doc. And I don't want to appear as if I'm challenging anybody or to pushing back, but I just want to point out that sometimes when certain statements are made, the context have to be developed, because especially the listeners, some young people in particular, and those who might not be inclined to certain morals, because the issue being discussed teaches a lot to me on theology, spirituality, morality, and going forward in developing our society. So there are a few points he made which I would like to comment on, but I don't have the time. But I just take the last one in terms of I hope I got him correct when he talked about he looked at the way the people pen these songs around this time, the music, and I think he mentioned the parang and the this and that. And then he went on to talk about what happened long ago with the people going from door to door to carol. But I want to just to understand that, no, what is happening today, these songs and the rhythm that is being aired, in my humble analysis, is not in terms of the season. If it is in terms of the season, yes, it has been corrupted, as you mentioned, with the commercialization and festivity, the immorality, but not in a traditional way, the reason for the season on Jesus Christ. And I was just going through a little quotation here on my wife's Facebook page, and I saw something. Someone put up the quote that people say, don't go back to the past. And the person affirmed that, yes, they have to go back to the past at least in terms of the music. So we have been hearing lyrics in some music, parang, which is vulgar to the core. And I will try to end by saying, on the last presentation of the doc with you a week or two ago, you all ended on a high note, a good note, in terms of what it takes, I've just paraphrased here, but I think that was the substance of it, to change the way that we have to improve society, especially among the young people. But immediately after that program, Brother Joe, I'm not blaming you, it's an observation. Then a song came on about what bad boy style and what I want for the whole night, and I want turn, I want it. So I just saying here that in our society we can be sending mixed signals, especially for young people, young mind. And while yes, we have to be diverse, there need to be a transition how we go from one extreme to another. But I will end by saying it's good we have this type of program, but it has to be contextualized, and time doesn't permit us sometimes to develop it so that the young people can gauge themselves in a proper way. So that even when we say we're giving gifts for Christmas, as the doc said, the true meaning is Jesus Christ.
Okay.
But then Jesus Christ has been reflected in the poor, in the vagrant. So it's okay to give gifts, but in a manner in which you give it and how you celebrate it. Thank you very much. I hope my point is taken.
Thank you very much, sir. All the best to you.
Well, thank you very much, Paula. I think you have raised some really salient, some very important aspects of not just around the Christmas season, Carla, but also for just general life. Joe,
yes.
About how we as a people, we develop ourselves, how we are true to what we say, so we say something and then we can back it up by our behavior and our actions. The way we live in the community, because there is no question, Joe, that Grenada is a small community and we know almost everybody,
right.
and therefore things like respect and honesty and stuff should permeate our society. And so the caller alluded to that even around this Christmas time. Thank you, caller, for your observation.
Dr. Ho, have another caller that's on the line. Good morning, caller.
Yes.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. You're live.
Yeah. Dr. Panchoo. Good morning to you. And I appreciate the steps the ministry and yourself has taken to reach out to men. It's one of the issues men have. I've been talking about it for years and I've seen a big turn. Now, on Christmas, I'm a student of history. And we seem to hold on to some of the policy of our slave master, and we continue doing it. Because the Christmas tree behind in GBND right now, behind Cadore right there, is because that Christmas tree originated from out of Germany. The German that started that. And they put a star on top of it. And the star represents ISIS. The 25th of December is the death of the sun. Okay? So a lot of things we hold on to and we're not educating our kids. Now, I enjoy Christmas as a child growing up. I don't enjoy it now. I stopped pushing all this fuss behind it. Because I remember right now it become a businessman time, a businessman holiday. While we fitting and cooking and eating a set of food, Christmas they counting the coins, cleaning up the shop after Boxing Day for the last sale, and then New Year's sale, and then they're preparing for Valentine's. And it's time we start moving away from that. So this topic and then what you're raising there is pretty good. Is a mouthful of what people might not understand it, and we keep on pushing ourselves in areas where it's affecting us, affecting our pocket, and as the year started continue, a lot of holidays we are doing, spending a certain money from the Valentine and the Easter, and it just keep on putting a pressure on your pocket and yourself and your family, where we could just live a normal life. It's not in the days when I have a sheep or a cattle and at Christmas time I come together with the neighborhood and we kill it and then we share the meat, or you sell it and you use that money to invest it into something, or we put together, we buy a goat, we kill it, we share it up. I would like to see people talking about these things, or a pig, or you put together, you buy a few chicken, you put it in a pan, Christmas time, you share it up.
Okay.
These type of things, I would like to see what people doing.
Okay, sir.
On spending money, borrowing money, putting yourself in expense, and then you ending up at the day, you end up back in the same position you was last year. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
And continue to go to people. Need to start pushing again to get these young men to understand they have a responsibility and a role to play in society. Every weekend, when you watch and you pass around by the shop and you watch, the taxes that drop on certain food, it should have been added onto the alcohol. The prevention is supposed to be pushing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, Doc, the caller highlighted some points that we quite clearly, from the outset, we established we're not going there, because we know when it comes to the conversation of Christmas.
Yeah.
And while I acknowledge his observation, we declared early that we're not going there, because those, of course, can be very divisive and controversial conversation. But the fact is that it is the Christmas season, and that is the observance. And the question is, we highlighted what we wanted. For those of you who's probably just joining us, we wanted to be highlighting and dealing with the stress, and we've actually coined it dope, the depression of people's expectation. An expectation that, Doc, we've determined that I must give a gift, I must buy you this, I must buy you that, and I must receive. And there's an emotional turmoil that comes with it. We did highlight the fact that it's important that we acknowledge feelings, that maybe we should use it as a period of reflection as well. And we're just talking about planning ahead. And as part of planning ahead, there's also in part of the planning the whole conversation of budget, I think, which would be good, because I'm keeping my eyes on the clock. We always talk about January being such a hard month. And it is the worst month of the year. How do we deal with them? How do we deal with that?
Very good question, Joe. And so let me introduce one little thing, and it's part of the stressor and the anxiety, and ultimately behavior. So let me show you what I mean. Very heavy heart, Joe. Because of the way Christmas and the celebration of Christmas has evolved. Watch this, Joe. There are many vulnerable people in our community. And I dare say, Joe, a lot of single mothers who, out of necessity and the way Christmas has just transitioned, will do anything. And I'm saying that now as a kind of empathetic feeling for the vulnerable. That's how I want you to see it. So there are single mothers out there and fathers too, who are willing, Joe, to compromise themselves and do anything so that they can have, or so, listen how I phrase it, so they can get to give. They will do anything so that they can get funds, resources, or whatever, so that they can give to the children or to their family. And it's a kind of sobering thought for you to think of your sibling, your sister, your brother, your mom, doing anything just so that they can get to be able to give. And that's, for me, is a tragedy, because a lot of people, and I don't want to say whether it's male or female, because it's not gender sensitive, okay? It includes everyone. There are many people who are out there, Joe, who are predators, and they are going to prey on people's vulnerability during this Christmas season, because people are wanting to get so they can give.
And when we honor that too, and probably a good point to interject here, is being able to say no during the season. People, they stop by as part of the serenading, and they figure that they could come by you and eat you out, move on to the next person, and you feel this compulsion not to, well, just to give them because it is the season, and then you're left say no. I give you a bottle, that's it, move on.
And Joe, no is probably the most difficult word and concept to conceive around this festive season. No to your children, no to your significant other. I really don't have to give.
Right.
No to the neighbor. No to. It's hard to say no because of how we have now conceptualized Christmas.
And even no to self. Tell yourself no.
No to self. How do we say no to self? Because, Joe, I'm obligated to look good. I don't want the community or anybody to say, boy, I came to Dr. Panchoo's home and he had nothing.
Right.
Joe, I smile because really I will have nothing in my house. So people don't stop by me because they really know I don't have anything. I used to laugh when Halloween, I lived in the United States for, 20 years. During Halloween, when people look for candy and stuff, my door shut, and no kid ever get anything from me as candy because I don't, I didn't subscribe to that. I learned to say no to that tradition, even though I lived in a society that upheld it. And so sometimes it's hard to say no. And so here, saying no and no to self is hard, and that's something that we have to train ourselves to be able to limit, because I don't want people who are vulnerable to try to get just so that they can give, because it only hurts self.
Indeed, it only hurts self. 5 minutes onto the hour, and because we're running out of time, we would want to close here. And as you say no to self, we talked about acknowledging feelings. Ultimately, in the true spirit of the season, that maybe it's a good time to reflect. And this is where I want you to bring to us to introduce the close.
Yes.
That we should use the season as a time to reflect on those who have gone through whatever it means, reflect on the year that was, our strengths, our weaknesses, and use it as a juncture that we look ahead. What say you?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a really great way for us to end the year in our collaboration. I look forward to January when you and I will address a lot of other topics of social consequences. Joe, watch this with me. You will like that concept. Do you know, and think of how we see Christmas, that we do all this preparation. We have all this anxiety about whether or not the steps are going to be painted, or the garden is going to get cleaned and raked, and the guy is coming to fix the gutter, the roof, all of it. Whether the varnish is going to dry in time, or the paint, or the new bed is going to be delivered, or the curtain, are we going to get it? We stress, we do all of that. Do you know that Christmas Day is probably the dullest day? Serious. You get up and everything is like just kind of quiet, and so we made, watch this, so you mean we made all this fuss? I racked up my credit card, I owe quotes, Hubbard's got everything, Ramdani bill is going to be, I did all of that for this. It's like there is no music, everybody's thing, and all you can smell is food cooking, everywhere. Everybody's cooking now, and things are quiet. And you said, we made all this fuss for this. I nagged at my kids so that they could get all the cleaning done only for this. Here is a time, Joe, and that's how we're ending. Christmas season is a time of reflection. I want us to use it as that. A time, if we're celebrating Jesus, it's the time for forgiving. It's a time of honesty with self, with neighbors, with workers, the government. It is a time of sharing, but it is certainly a time of internal reflection of who I am as a person and how do I fit in this whole celebration and in this whole picture of life, I want my life to be meaningful. I want it to be said of me. Not that I gave a great gift for Christmas, not that I treated my employees really good and the party was off the chain, right? But I want to be remembered, Joe, as a good person, as an honest person, as a person who loved people, as a person who is willing to forgive, as a person who is willing to embrace all diverse cultures and all diverse people. That's who I want to be. That's who I aim to be. And Christmas and the Christmas season is the great opportunity for us to be able to do that.
Indeed, indeed. And when we learn to embrace different diversities, we learn to forgive, learn to say no to self and no to others, it allows us to become a point of enlightenment, of greater consciousness, where we recognize, as I say to us every day, we choose to become better individuals. Better fathers, better sons, better daughters, a better human being at the end of the day. Whatever your aspirations are for the holiday seasons, we do say, yes, enjoy it. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get too high on the dope, on the depression of people's expectations. You don't need to max your card, because you would have to pay it in January. You don't have to run out the debit card. You don't have to eat all the soil and drink all the soil and ginger beer. There is life after the holiday seasons, folks. 2021 has been a difficult year, no doubt. But certainly, as you go through this season, usually at the time of reflecting on what has gone, but that which is to come, which we have no control over. There's a variant out there that we have no control over. The economy isn't going to rebound. We don't know. It certainly allows us to reflect. Maybe it's a time where we get creative with our decorations. If you believe in decorations, maybe it's a time for families to come together. Should I buy one ham? Or maybe let's decide. Let's come together as a family. Let's split the $200, buy a ham, and we share it with each other. Yes? Until then, folks, continue to enjoy the spirit of the season. Believe me, Dr. Panchoo and I, we do enjoy the season. And Doc, this is our last on this platform. So I want to take the opportunity publicly to wish you all the best for the season and wish you all of God's blessings as we head into the new year.
Thank you, Joe. And I wish for you and your family the same, and for all of our faithful listeners and all of our callers and all of our followers. There are many people who tell me, I'm following you and Joe all the time, and they just don't call, and they just don't, but they listen and they appreciate the nuggets of truth and good advice that we share on this program. So thank you so much, and I look forward to a blessed and productive 2022.
Same here. All the best to you folks. JC loves you. I'll leave you here for now. Teaser season comes up next right here on Classic Radio and GBN Television. Until then, so long, everybody.